It's Mike Titino with the Safety First Home Inspection Show.
So thank you for having me. It was an absolute pleasure. Love being here. I love chopping it up with you.
Katherine, thank you so much.
No, thank you.
I'm proud of you, man. Good for you. I like it.
This is episode 5 of the Safety First Home Inspections podcast show. Today I have a special guest of mine, Miss Katherine Trent. Can't thank you enough for coming on my show.
Thank you so much for having me.
No problem.
So exciting.
So you're actually a unique guest of mine, and I mean that in a sense where you and I just recently connected. You had reached out we followed each other on Instagram, and then you had reached out and you hired me for a home inspection not too long ago. What made you reach out, and what made you, hire me when technically you didn't use me yet? So,
well, I know I had been following you. We had been following each other for, I think, a few years, maybe 1 or 2. So I was looking for someone ASAP, and I had to talk to one of my colleagues, and I said, listen, I need to get this deal done, and I need an inspection either today or tomorrow. And he was like, oh, why don't you use Mike? And I was like, Mike, it sounded familiar. He's like, yeah, you follow him on Instagram. So I looked you up, and I was going to send you a DM, but I was like, you know what? Give me his cell phone number. I'll call him. And so that's what happened. And he spoke very highly of you. He was like, I definitely recommend him. Use him. He'll definitely answer right away. And you did. You answered right away in the middle of your inspection.
Yeah, I remember too, you had called me and it was like the worst timing on my end because I was like in the middle of the inspection. I'm like, I'll call you right back, I'm sorry. But so once I got to the house, what was your experience with hiring me and everything, and what?
Oh, it was amazing. You were great. You're very informative. You definitely walked me through the entire inspection, which I have to say it hadn't happened yet. Like, I usually do follow the inspectors around, but you were very detail-oriented. You explained everything very well, and I loved how you communicated with my client as well.
That's greatly appreciated. And so before we dive deeper into real estate, let's backtrack for a second. So where were you born? Where did real estate come into play? Give us a background story of your bio.
Sure. So I was born in Honduras. I came here when I was 10. And we started in Queens, Ozone Park. Then we moved to Long Island in 2005. I worked several jobs from like Subway to then managing restaurants. And I think that was like my longest job. I managed a restaurant called Gallo in Patchogue, and I worked there for 10 years.
And moving here from Honduras, was it a hard transition from learning a second language, moving here, and growing up was Spanish only spoken at home, and then you had to learn English in school? Like, how did that work?
Yeah, so my parents just spoke Spanish. So at home it was always Spanish, and then in school I was in ESL, English as a second language. And so it was tough because, we only had our classroom who everyone just spoke Spanish. So it was a little tough to learn, the language, English as your second language, and it took some time. And
I'm actually learning Spanish now.
You are?
Every night, which I've been using Rosetta Stone, to be honest.
Oh, nice.
And every day, you just have to keep working at it and practicing it over and over. And my ultimate goal, I showed you the video. I actually posted my first clip in Spanish regarding a home inspection, and that video, it got a lot of feedback. So
good.
That taught me, like, you know what, I need to stick with this so I could further educate the Hispanic community too. So,
which is a little underserved. So I think that you would do great. And I did watch your video, and it was great.
Day by day, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, you just gotta practice.
Another language is definitely a lot of work. So speaking of content and social media, one thing that I've seen that you post content educating your audience, whether it's the process of buying a home, and you'll have like TikToks almost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So walk us through what's your process on posting content and just adding value to your audience.
I just like to have fun. So I like my social media to reflect my personality. Obviously the field that we're in sometimes can be a little serious and
dry.
And people sometimes are just like so closed off. It's not my personality. I'm very open. I'm very friendly, and outgoing. So I want my clients to feel comfortable. I want my followers to feel comfortable. It is a serious purchase, but you can still have fun and not be so, because it could be so draining and so many emotions.
Of course.
And you have to be able to just, hey, it's gonna be okay. It's gonna be all right.
Yeah. What I've learned with the content that I post is, one, you have to show people who you are. I mean, how are you able to service your clients if you don't have either a picture of yourself, a video of you, on camera? And one of the TikToks that I've seen of yours, and you kind of take TikToks like another level. Like,
do I?
I saw one, if I'm not mistaken, you were actually dressed up like as a guy. Right?
Oh, I did.
You had something like that, yeah. So,
yeah.
So, but I feel like those videos, it introduces people to your funny side because, like you said, that's just how you naturally are. So that's definitely, it's very important for your audience to know. Well, they feel like they know you and they feel comfortable enough to reach out and hire you in a sense. So, out of all your videos, which one do you think got the most engagement, like the one that just kind of just took off? Like,
it's so weird, how like the algorithm and social media works, because it's just such a simple video, and it took me not that long, and I was like, you know what, this would be a cute video. The beat was nice. But it was just like a simple video where I was just like, call me, and I think I was just pointing out a different stuff, I forgot what it was, either to purchase a home or something like that, and it got 1 million views.
Get out of here.
Yeah, and
wow.
it was weird because I was checking, and it only happened like maybe 1 or 2 days later, and I opened my Instagram, and it was like, my phone would not stop. It was like 100 new friends, new followers, and like it with Instagram, it stops at 100. So you could get more, but it refreshes and it keeps saying the same thing. And I was like, what is happening? Wow. So it was like a mini little video that kind of went viral. So that was exciting.
That's awesome. So regarding real estate, how long have you had your license for?
3 years.
And are you still with the original firm that you started with, or?
No. So I started with Coldwell Banker, and then I decided to make my move to Realty Connect USA.
And I feel like new realtors within their first year or two, they always switch around and go to different firms. And what made you switch? And why do you think new realtors typically switch?
Well, there's nothing wrong with switching. It's just like you're testing the waters. Sure. You're seeing what you feel comfortable with. My big reason was because I was young. I was new in the field. Like I said, I had no experience with real estate. I was used to working in restaurants. So I really didn't negotiate my commission. I didn't really negotiate my terms. I was just like, yeah, let's do it, So I was in a 50-50 split. And then I also joined a team. So then that team, I was also,
more given, of a split.
Yeah, 30%. So I was really just getting 20% out of my check. So I remember my first closing, which I worked so hard for. I had to go into a crawl space so we could close and clean it out.
Out of here.
Or else we wouldn't have been able to close. And I was just like, I'm doing it because I'm not a quitter. I'm, Determined. So I did it. And then when I went to the closing table, and I see my nice check, and then I looked at my direct deposit. I'm like, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. So, you live and you learn.
No, of course. Now, 2020, obviously COVID hit. It slowed down the real estate market for about a month or two. How did that affect your business?
And honestly, it didn't.
You weren't nervous or anything?
I think that I was kind of like grateful and thankful because I got to spend a lot more time with my son.
Sure.
It kind of just like grounded you a little bit, like, hey, it's not all work. Family time is also just as equally important. So, no, it was great to take that time, kind of reevaluate, rebrand yourself, and come up with new ideas. Actually, one of my buyers was able to get a great deal because of the virus, because there weren't that many buyers buying, and we were still constantly looking and searching, so it worked out great.
Yeah, there was a point for me where I was getting emails that were saying, if you're caught working right now, I'll get fined, lose my license. It was just like, I never thought in my lifetime I'd get penalized for actually working. So that for me was a little nerve-wracking, but
it was. You just got to be careful.
Yeah.
You know, even with us, you know, we would hear like, oh, if, you know, another agent sees you, they can report you, you'll get a $10,000 fine. And, you know, you can't live life in fear. You know, if you know that what you're doing is not wrong and it's just being responsible, wear your mask, wear your gloves, you know, and just keep your distance. Just be responsible.
No, of course. And that actually brings me to my next point. Now, so you've been in real estate for 3 years. COVID obviously didn't slow you down whatsoever. Now you have an advantage of being bilingual. So you had mentioned that that community is underserviced. So do you feel like you have an obligation to the community to uplift and further serve them, or is there a difference between your clients that are more Spanish speaking or more bilingual? Or
I think that's like my goal for this year. I want to be more involved with like the Hispanic community, especially with my social media. I feel like I cater more to the English speaking community, and they are very underserved, and I feel like it's my obligation to educate my people, because there's a lot of misinformation and, you know, they do get taken advantage of more than anyone else because of the language barrier. Any
example in particular you think you could?
Sure. You know, sometimes they don't negotiate as well as, like, you know, our regular, you know, people who are born here, or people who, they're just very humble and very just, okay, you know, if I'm able to buy this house, I'm just grateful that I'm able to buy it. They don't really negotiate their interest rates, or they don't really, I just feel like they're not always given the best advice.
Well, that's why they have you.
Yeah.
To represent them.
To represent them, yeah.
And out of your career at this point, what's been your craziest real estate experience? Whether it's a deal that took forever, or a client that was just crazy, or...
Well, recently, I think I was telling you the story. I just had this deal, you know, and I was able to get my client this house for, I think it was like $40,000 or $45,000 under asking.
Which is rare right now. That's
it's so rare. Yeah. So we were able to go back and forth, negotiate, and it was the last walkthrough, and I was, you know, talking to this agent back and forth, so we could do the last walkthrough. I was like, listen, the heat is working, everything's good. She's like, yeah, everything's good. So we show up the day of the closing, hours before the closing, to do the last walkthrough. The heat is not working, the furniture, there's still so much furniture in the house. And I'm like, hey, what's going on?
And people don't realize that, you know, when you schedule the final walkthrough, everything you just mentioned, it's all in the contract, like at least 30 to 45 days prior, so there's no surprises.
Exactly.
So everyone knows during the final walkthrough. Even when I do my home inspections, which you were there for, I always tell my clients, you know, these are the things that I found, but during your final walkthrough, make sure the heat's working, the plumbing's working, absolutely. So I always try to set my clients up so there's no surprises, but that's crazy that all that time passed and still nothing happened. Yeah,
no, and we were communicating. And, you know, to me, I feel like communication is key in this business.
Of course.
So if there was an issue, I'm sure that we could have rescheduled the closing or the walkthrough for another day. But there was no communication. So it was a little weird. So then that wasn't even the craziest part. So my client went to the closing. They worked out another deal. He got more money because he essentially had to, you know, get the boiler, you know, service, and then have someone take the furniture out. So he did get more money at the closing. But then what happened afterwards was crazy. We're sitting at the closing table. The agent never showed up, and then she decided to text the attorney and say, hey, the keys are at the end of the driveway, underneath the flower pot between two leaves. Mind you, this house was like 2 blocks from the beach. So if they're between 2 leaves, where are you going to find these keys?
Just two.
Just 2 leaves, not 3, not 4, 2. So what ended up happening is I get a call at like 6:30, 7 p.m. It's like from my buyer, hey, I can't find the keys. And I'm like, I can't get in the house. What do you mean? So I had to drive with my son because at this time we're like having dinner, but my clients come first. So we took the drive, we went over there, and he ended up finding the keys with his neighbor now. And the keys were buried in the backyard.
Do you think the realtor did that intentionally?
I think so. And it happens, but...
Yeah. What are some things you feel like realtors need to just stop doing? Or things that just aggravate, just realtors in general? Maybe some never answer their phone or things like that. What are some things realtors can improve on?
Answer your phone.
That's the big one, right?
That's a huge one. Yeah.
Or I feel like some listing agents, they'll have the office number on the listing, and then you call the office, and then the secretary says, call the realtor. Then the realtor says, call my partner, and then it's just like, do you want to sell the house or not?
Yeah. And I get it. We're busy. You're out there getting listings. You're out here driving, buyers around. But no, it does get a little like, just answer me.
Yeah. So speaking of deals, I think you recently placed an offer on a short sale, right?
Yes.
So what's that process?
So short sales, they do tend to take a little bit of time because you're essentially just dealing with the bank itself. You're not dealing with the homeowner directly, even though they still kind of involved. But I feel like a lot of agents and a lot of people shy away from them when you shouldn't. It could be a great investment if you take the right measurements and you're dealing with your right people, And everybody has to be on the same page. Your lender, your agent, everybody needs to be on the same page so it could be like a smooth transaction.
Absolutely. And this is a very small industry. So, it goes a long way when you do right by people, because if you're the realtor where no one can get a hold of, or you're just very difficult to deal with, unfortunately, that word will definitely spread.
Yeah, it's all about relationships. Our business is all just like how we met,
Sure.
And it's going to continue to happen. You have to keep building those relationships, not only with your clients, but with
colleagues
your peers.
Too. Yeah, sure.
You have to have that relationship.
And that's why, I don't know if you know this, once a month I have the realtors that I work with, and we all go out to dinner just so we could all just get along and just feel like we're actually with friends and not just colleagues, because I'm in this business for the long run. I'm sure you are too, obviously. So once a month, I think it's nice where we all just get together, we hang out and things like that. And I've done 4 so far, and they've all been a pretty good turnout. So I like to... Not only that, sometimes there's realtors at the table that they never met prior to. And, if I can connect more people together, then I feel like it's a win-win for everybody.
Yeah, I think I've seen your post with, you do like a dinner, right?
Yes.
No, it looks fun. I feel like, especially now that there's no networking events.
Yeah, that's... Since COVID hit, for me, it's been a transition, and it's almost been like a blessing in disguise, because once we couldn't physically network, I was like, you know what? Now I'm going to take this time to now post content and have more of a digital presence online, because that's how me right now, I would say most of my business is strictly from Instagram.
Yeah.
And you're proof of that, because you called me up and said, Mike, are you free? I was like, count me in. So speaking of content and things like that, I told you I'm working on my Spanish. So one day, I don't know when, but I want to film a video with you in Spanish.
Yeah,
I don't know when yet. You got to be very patient with me, because I have a long way to go. But I think one day we should definitely sit down and go over. But just, I'm definitely going to make a lot of mistakes on there. But
listen, you should be proud of yourself. You're doing everything that you want to do, and you're taking the steps to learn.
Absolutely.
Something different, something new that a lot of times people would not do it,
Absolutely. So I have at least a dozen female colleagues of mine, and there's always one similar story where there's one client that pretends to be a client, and then that turns into, are you free, Friday night for dinner so we could talk about business? And I feel like that's a topic that people don't talk about much. And how do you navigate around stuff like that when things like that do happen?
I haven't had that yet. Let's do dinners, talk about business.
Okay.
So, I haven't had that yet, but I have had instances where I just get like random phone calls, like weird, like just heavy breathing or, you know, or calls from like different states, and I'm like, I don't, you know, I can refer you to another agent. I'm not in California, or I'm not here, but yeah, you do get those. I think it's all about setting your boundaries.
Of course.
Especially with social media, you know, like I really try not to answer DMs. Like you know, if it's that important, you would send me an email.
Of course.
You know, but I do screen to them, and I look at them, and if it's someone that needs help or just looking for advice, then I'll do that. But I feel like the minute that you open that door, you're putting yourself in a predicament that, you know, it's going to be hard to get out of.
Of course, yeah. So the female realtors that I know, they've had situations where mortgage brokers will pull something like that and say, you know, let's talk about it over dinner or drink or something. And I jokingly give them advice, say, all right, well, why don't you have them send over clients first and see if they're about what they say they are. And if they don't send you any buyers to show houses to, then they just all talk. And then that's how they vanish.
Yeah, it's all about how you carry yourself, you know, how you carry yourself, and, you know, that's how people are going to perceive you and respect you. I feel like with loan officers, I don't think a lot of times they're coming from like a bad intent. I feel like sometimes they just want to make sure that, you know, your personalities are going to match, that you work the same, because believe it or not, you are going to be working hand on these, you know, deals. So you want to make sure that your personalities, because if you don't get along
100%.
And that energy doesn't match, you could potentially lose that deal for that client, you know? So you have to be just careful who you work with.
Of course. And so you've been in the business for 3 years now. What's the 5-year plan? What's the 10-year plan?
Real estate. You know, I want to start investing. I want to start definitely being more active on social media. Sometimes we could procrastinate and not be as active all the time, because it does take a lot of work.
Absolutely. Especially your videos with the pointing and the music and the transitions.
And it's got to be on point, you know? And I'm very, very like, I'm not a perfectionist, but I'll look at my video for like 100 times and I'm like, no, it's not there yet, you know?
So I'm sure your camera roll has dozens of videos that have never been posted.
Never been posted.
Really?
Yes.
So you're like your worst critic.
Oh, the worst. I really am. I'm trying to get better, because I feel like you have to be vulnerable sometimes.
Of course.
And put yourself out there.
Yeah, of course. I had the same feeling when I was first posting the video in Spanish. I was like, how do I sound this? I was in my head like way too much, but then I was like, you know what? I think people would kind of look at it more as if someone's trying and getting outside their comfort zone. And I'm all about getting outside the comfort zone, because another reason for this podcast show is hopefully the guests that I have, like yourself, people can watch it and say, oh, you know, Katherine made a great point about this. You know, I'm going to start doing this and this and that. So I definitely feel like things like that 100% come, you know,
100%.
Full circle.
You need to get out of your head, you know, and that's one thing that I feel like I did learn during COVID, those few months that we were just home. Like, you got to get out of your head. You got to just put yourself out there. Not everything you start is going to be perfect. That's why, you know, I'm giving you your props, because you're starting stuff. You know, you're starting something new. Whatever it is that you want to do, you just do it. You know, it's not always going to be perfect. You're going to learn as you go. You know, it's going to be trial and error, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to perfect it.
And the guests I've had so far, you're my fourth guest so far, and every single one so far, they all have a very strong presence on social media, which you probably know some of them as well. And I'm thinking in my head, like, all right, I have to be on point for my guests. But like you said, the more you're in your head, it's just, people will definitely see that.
Yeah. And someone's always going to have something negative, you know. Always. Like, you cannot, the negative comments I get, but you know what? That's actually more engagement.
But what could someone possibly say negative if you're adding value?
You know, it's just sometimes you have to look at it this way. When someone has something negative to say about you, it's not really about you. It says more about them than it is about you, and that's what you have to understand. Social media, there's always going to be people behind that keyboard. They're just not happy with themselves.
Yep.
And it's just not worth it to go back and forth. You just got to keep putting it out there, because you know what? That one negative comment is not dragging more engagement to your page.
Of course, yeah.
Now, because that person took the time to comment, now Instagram is going to push it to other people who, you know, might be following them or they're following. So even the negative comments help.
So I sense you're very big into positive energy, and do you have like a daily routine that kind of affirmations, or like what's your schedule like as far as, do you meditate it? Like, you know how people have some morning routines that get them in the right mind frame. Do you have any of those, or books that you read that get you?
I'll be lying if I said I do have a routine.
Okay.
Because I don't. I'm trying. I'm working on it, because I feel like I'm definitely missing a little structure. But I am a mom, so a lot of times it could, you know, handling your own business, you know, because we are independent contractors, so it's all on us. And then being a mom, you know, that's another thing, you know, it's full.
Of course.
But I don't. I think I just try to start my day with positive thoughts. And I always say to myself, today's going to be a great day. Today's going to be a great day. And that's it. Because the moment you start your day with anything bad, I just noticed, and then your rest of your day is messed up.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter what happens. I'm like, it's going to be a great day. It's going to be a great day. And what I've done with my son too is we'll be driving to school, and if I forgot to do it in the morning before he woke up, we'll do it together in the car. Like, hey, Kyle, today's going to be a great day. Yes, Mom, today's going to be a great day. And so that, you know, we do that, and that helps.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And since you became a mother, did that add more fuel to your passion, or hustling hard, working hard? I mean, did you come from a hardworking family, like up and coming? Was that part of your background, where, you know, you have to work hard and things like that? Because typically stories where people are moving from different countries, I feel like those are the people that have the craziest work ethic, and because their parents, they worked hard to make the transition. So was that part of your upbringing as well?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I come from a third world country, you know,
right, of course.
With like the cows and the chickens. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm definitely very hardworking. And once I became a mom, I think that I already had a why, because, you know, my family, they're just very humble. We weren't taught to think big and kind of like have money work for us. We were always taught that we should work hard to have money.
Right.
You know, when it's the other way around, you know, we should have money work for us.
Of course.
And then once I became a mom, I was just like, you know, that's my other why. That's my bigger why. Like, I want my son to grow up not depending on anyone, not working for anyone, just being himself and being whoever he wants to be, having his own business.
So you're definitely going to raise a future entrepreneur.
Oh, 100%.
100%.
Yeah. He's a little crazy Gemini, but we'll see what happens.
Is there anything now he's passionate about? How old
cars.
is he, by the way?
He's 6.
He's 6, okay.
He's going to be 7 in May. But yeah, no, he's just very into cars. Anything with wheels.
Hey, if that could be turned into a business somehow.
Somehow, some way. So I try to put that, I try not to, because sometimes you can't pursue your kids into whatever they want to do, you know? But I try to tell him all the time, like, listen, you want to work for yourself. I was like, do you like mommy telling you what to do? He's like, no, I hate it. I was like, okay.
Imagine a boss.
So, a boss is going to be just like that, but you just can't call the mom, you know?
Yeah, it's funny because prior to when I was an employee, I was a union carpenter in New York City, and I just hated the idea of doing all the hard work, the physical labor, and then being told when my lunch break is over, when my coffee break is just like, you know, I have to ask if I can go to the bathroom. I was over it. And I don't know if that's like a power trip in my head or not, but what ended up happening for me was that I was commuting into Manhattan 5 days a week, and I started utilizing the commute on the Long Island Railroad to start reading books. And the more books I read, just going in and coming home from work, just my mind started evolving about, like, there's more to this than just working. And, and one thing led to another, where the last job site I was on, it was slowing down and I got laid off, just like construction that just happens, and I just never looked back.
Yeah.
Because of the information and the confidence that I acquired from just reading all these books. So I always recommend people, even if you're not a reader, try to get into audiobooks or something. Yeah. So is there any audiobooks that you've downloaded or any books that you've read, or are you trying to transition into that? Or
I think it's just the same as you. I think in the past 2 years, I was just started reading those type of like help books, like Think and Grow Rich.
Love that book.
Love it.
Yeah.
I think I'm like listening to it my third time
Get
already.
out of here.
Yeah, I love it. I think Rich Dad Poor Dad.
That was the first book I read.
Yeah,
the first one.
Power. All great books. And I'm not a big reader. Like I would be lying if I said like I read. I'll rather be taking a shower or driving or doing my makeup and listening to audibles. I feel like it relaxes me. It changes my thought process, the way I look at things.
Of course.
And like I said, it changes it from when you were born and your parents, and that all has to play into the person that you are.
Of course.
And it's okay to change that. It's okay to look into other things to kind of just change that mentality. It's never too late.
Yeah, there's been a few books that have definitely changed my life. One of them is called The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson. So that book basically breaks down just daily habits and how easy it is to neglect a simple task. Let's say, like reading, for example. All you have to do is just read 10 pages a day. That's literally it. Or let's just say you want to listen to 20 minutes worth of an Audible every single day. Now, it doesn't seem like much, but if you do that every single day, now imagine how much you can get done every week, every month. So little habits like that, it compounds into big things. And I've been using that kind of blueprint where, learning a second language, just half an hour, just practice. And then before you know it, you're having full-blown conversations or fitness, whatever it is. Whatever it is, you just have to time block just whatever, an hour, whatever time frame it is, every single day, and just the power of being persistent.
And that's the key.
Yes.
It's persistence.
And
then something, you might miss a day or two. Just pick it back up.
Yeah.
I've been doing that this year, doing it with Spanish. I'm doing it with reading books. I'm like, I have to read 8 pages a day. So if I don't get it in the morning, I'll do it at night. If I miss a day, I'll pick it up the next day.
What are you reading right now?
Power Agent.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, it's
Power
great.
Agent. Okay.
Power Agent, yeah. No, it's great because, like I said, being a real estate agent, you kind of just learn as you go along, right? You have no one really, even when you go with a company, they're not really holding your hand like, hey, this is what you have to do. Even when you take your test,
right,
you're never gonna use any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Everything everything you're gonna use, you're gonna learn it on the field.
Of course.
So I try to either listen to videos on YouTube or read to kind of, just have more knowledge.
Of course.
And know how to deal with people. Even though you know how to deal with people, there's ways that you could do it,
Of course, yeah. So that's definitely very important. Another thing that's important, I just had my other guest here. His name is Dan O'Neill. I don't know if you know him or not. Now, he, aside from his business, it's very important for him to pay it forward. And I feel like, the way that I pay it forward is I host workshops once a month to, better educate the real estate agents, where I bring you guys to a vacant house and we do a full walkthrough from top to bottom. Are there any things in whether it's your personal life or business life, where you feel like paying it forward fits into that equation?
Oh yeah, 100%. I love to give back. It's actually one of I love to volunteer. I feel like we're so blessed. I feel like I'm so blessed, and I feel like I have nothing to complain about.
Right.
I'm healthy. My family's healthy. My job is great. I have my business. I was able to make it here from a country that really doesn't have much. So I'm forever grateful for that. So I'm big into give it back. I actually work with this great organization in Patrick called Angels of Long Island, and we do a lot of Christmas. Where families come and they just take Christmas gifts, food, clothing, whatever they need, back to school events. So they're great, and I'm always working with them.
And it definitely gives you a perspective of how grateful we are to have hot water in our house, a roof over our head, coats on our backs. And I feel like doing that, paying it forward, it grounds us, because especially in real estate, I feel like it could be easy to, sell tons of houses, make tons of money, and then sometimes you forget where you came from or how you started. So it definitely comes full circle.
Of course, 100%. You always should be able or thinking about giving back, and it doesn't have to be money. It could be your time.
Of course.
It could be, you taking the time to guide someone or, help anyone in any way possible.
And the good thing about it is, I'm sure when you do that, you're also implementing those lessons to your son as well.
Oh yeah, 100%.
So because every year, except this past year because of COVID, a good friend of mine, she hosts this event called the Bowery Mission, where every year she goes around, collects clothes and everything that you just said, and we all set up like a buffet-style table outside of a homeless shelter in New York City on Christmas Day. And the people who help us, they bring their kids too, so they show them at a very young age, like, listen, there's people out here that don't have, shelter and food and things like that. So you have to be grateful for that.
100%. No, and even with, just teaching the, children to be the simplicity of life, because kids, especially, they're watching TV and it's like that new toy comes up, but they don't understand it's marketing. That's what they do.
Yes,
that's what they're gonna do. They want you to take the last penny your parents have and stuff that you don't need. So I try to teach my son like this, like, we go to the store, like, why do you want that? Why do you feel like you need that? Why do you have to have that?
Right.
Because it's always like, I have to have it. I need it, Mom. Like, why do you need it? Is it going to make your life any better? The commercial. It could be anything. It's advertisement. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to pursue you into buying things, that you don't need.
Of course.
So I'm big on that with my son. I just don't buy anything.
Ironically, my first guest here, Charles Weinerup, he's the #1 fix and flip investor on all of Long Island. He doesn't own any materialistic items. He doesn't own a watch. He has a modest car. He doesn't have any jewelry, nothing.
I'm the same way. I cannot tell you how many times I'll show up places and they're like, I would think that you'd be driving a Mercedes. And I'm like, why? And it's not... Or like my bag. I'm not a materialistic person. Like, I could never see myself spending more than $50 on a bag. Like, I can't do it.
Now, do you think that's because of your upbringing and valuing, different things in life?
100%. I mean, I saw how hard my mom worked to just give us what we had. I don't have to, I mean, I do work hard, but like, why? Why do you have to impress people that, like, why? They don't know you.
Of course.
There's no reason to it. I feel like we should change our mindsets.
Of course. So since you work very hard, what do you do to treat yourself? Like, what are some things that you rewarded yourself with after you might have sold the house or got a new listing, things like that? Like, what are your hobbies outside of real estate?
Oh my God, I go hiking. I mean, and my other thing that I do is I have date night with my son constantly. So
awesome.
that's our stuff. And then hiking and then the gym, that's it.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy.
Yeah, that's definitely, those are definitely good hobbies.
Yeah.
I haven't done it recently because of the weather, but if I'm not working, I usually go biking.
Okay.
There's multiple trails that it's funny because this past spring and summer I've been so busy with inspections. I actually have to tell people that I'm booked on like a Sunday or something just to have a day off to just like cruise and.
You need it sometimes.
Yeah, you definitely need it 100%.
Yeah, you have to let your mind.
You have to recharge. So with that being said, I want to thank you so much for being on my show. It sounds funny even saying that, being on my show. But how can people get a hold of you? Where can they follow you? What's your Instagram handle?
Okay, well, thank you so much for having me, Mike. This was amazing.
problem.
This was fun. We had a great conversation. And yeah, they could find me on Instagram as Katherin.realestate.
No E at the end, though, right?
No E.
Okay.
Everyone always puts an E.
Yeah. So let's make sure it's Katherine.
Katherine, Katherin .real estate. And then on Facebook, it's just Katherine. My Facebook page is Cat Sells Real Estate, and TikTok, if you're on TikTok, cat.real estate.
I have TikTok. I just
Katherine.
haven't gotten on it yet, so you might have to show
TikTok
me some
is
lessons.
great. I'm telling you, you grow so fast.
I'm sure.
Yeah, you just have to like learn how to use it. But no, TikTok is great, and they could pay you. I think I've made like $12.
Wow. That's an incentive.
We're going there.
TikTok is next, guys. Katherine, thank you so much. I
No,
really
thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Thank
No
you so
problem.
much. It was fun.